258 and at the East-West Gathering, and has a talent for storytelling. So, Charles Haynes.
Whoa. So, let's see. Can you hear me back there? Great. Okay. I'm hearing myself, too, though. A little echo. Where's the... Oh, there it is. Okay. You all know how to adjust. I still hear... No, that's good. I'm better. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Oh, well, thank you. Oh, boy. You know... You see, it's true. I didn't say anything, but it's still true. When something you don't get it right now. In India, they say in the middle of when you're talking, they say, and something rings or that. It's true. Can't tell a joke with this crowd. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like, yeah, it's too serious a group. Alan Talbert's here, of course. And if I give a talk in front of Alan Talbert, you know, it's so difficult to say anything serious. You know, really it is, because he makes faces. He goes like this. Yeah, I know. And sometimes he even heckles, but you won't do that today. He's promised no heckling. Yeah. Dale's looking worried about this, Alan. What? No, he wouldn't dare. I haven't seen him in like 40 years. I haven't seen him in a long time. So he's got to be nice. Yeah, I'm very, very happy to see him, though. Yeah. You know, he's the only person that, I haven't seen him so long, but I was with him at the East-West Gathering, and so there we are. We're always together. I know, we were both at the East-West Gathering. Wow. Yeah, and Ginny also was there. Who else was there? The Michael, yeah, no, Alan was there in spirit. Not a very good spirit. Oh, well, yes, well, I want to say, you know, so it's been 11 years since I've been to this beautiful place. Lots of changes, beautiful changes, great things, the work that goes into it, oh, so amazing. So 11 years is you know, we get older, yes? I look back at some picture of myself back here in 11 years, and I thought, man, what a young guy. Oh, he was only in his 60s. Oh. And now, I know, no more 60s. Yeah, no, so, but you all are looking great. You're looking good. You're looking good. Yeah, you know, Andy Lesnick told me this joke, and so I'm going to repeat it yet again, that there are 3 stages in life. You know, there's youth, there's middle age, and there's you're looking good. And I'm definitely in the you're looking good stage, because I get that all the time. Oh, you're looking good, you know. And you know, you also know, like yesterday coming, I mean, was it yesterday? No, it was Thursday. 12 hours to get journey through different airports. And of course, you know, when you're an older person, people start, you know, like, now you watch your step, young man. You be careful, young man. I'm going, who the heck is he talking to? Young man. But you become, when you get my age, you become young man. And it's very annoying. And you know, but I decided, you know, if they're going to treat me like an old person, if I look the part now, I'm going to take all the advantages, right? And so, you know what I did? I went on the pre-board. I felt like I was cheating. I just said, anyone who needs a little extra assistance. I said, who doesn't want that space above their seat, for your bag? Huh? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I am tempted. I might do that. Yeah. Next time. But no, my husband is so young. He keeps me going to the gym all the time, all these things, because he doesn't want me to not be able to move properly. But, when I'm in an airport and he's not around, I can just be as frail as I want to be. They have no idea. It's like, because if you're pre-board, you gotta, you can't just zoom on. Oh, I was going to say also that recently I realized that I had crossed some sort of barrier because we were at our favorite Thai restaurant and the owners weren't there that night, and and we went up to I went up to pay the bill so we could leave quickly, and the lady at the she was one of the women who worked there. I saw her, but I didn't really ever talk to her, and I gave her the thing, and she looked at me and she said, "So me and the girls, we've been talking. And we want to ask, did you used to be handsome?" And I mean, honestly, later I thought of all the wonderful comebacks, but at the moment, not being Matt Talbert, I had no comebacks at all. I looked at her, I was kind of like dumbfounded. I didn't know what to say. I said, I mumbled like, well, I mean, because there's no good answer. I said, well, I guess maybe people used to think I was. And she said, we think so. We think you used to be handsome. And I said, okay. And I gave her and then I'm walking away and she says, "Oh, wait." I said, "Yes." "You have picture." And so like an idiot, I'm going through my phone looking for a picture where I used to be handsome. And my phone doesn't go back that far, It's all old people. And I was like, oh, Baba. So, all right, I know now I've arrived at the you're looking good stage of life. I don't need that. So, I was fortunate that Chris and Christy picked me up and at the airport, and I really, even when we were at the same place, like India, somebody, I never, they were always busy doing something, helping this or doing that, So who gets to talk? And when I came here last time, the same thing, so I never really, it was a lovely thing to have that chance, and I got the chance to hear the history of Meherana and in detail, because you know little bits here and there, and I didn't really have the whole narrative, and so fortunately we had the time, and it was wonderful to get that whole thing. But what I thought about as I was hearing the history was what Mani wrote to India the day after she first came to the center. With Baba in 1952. She would write back to Meherana, to the others. They all wanted to know the news, and so she, Mani was so good at that. So this is April 21st, 1952. Baba arrives from the train station in Florence. It's like my journey here. It's like there's no easy way. The Baba had to fly to New York, they overnight there, and then then he took an overnight train, if you can believe this, to Florence. Later he flew into Wilmington, but I guess in that day there wasn't such thing. So overnight train, poor Baba. Anyway, so he arrives at the Florence station, and of course Elizabeth's there to pick him up, and the Mondley people are there. And Mera and Mani get in the car with Baba and Elizabeth driving. And so they drive to the center. Now, that's not a short drive, actually, but, after coming from India, I guess it didn't seem so long, but they drove, and they got to the gate, and first time, Baba had ever seen the place. They written to him and, showed him this and that and all that. So they went through the gate, and Mani, of course, and Mira, first time. And so next day she writes, and this is what made me think of Meherana. She said, when we first got to this beautiful place that was created for Baba, an amazing thing happened. Baba was with us, and yet, when we arrived, it was as if Baba was already there, welcoming us. Every nook and corner of that place was filled with Baba's presence, even as we went in for the first time and discovered it. Mani says, this was an experience I never expected. Isn't that remarkable? Baba's sitting there. And that's how I feel about Meherana. Baba is here. And, then the whole thing, Baba stayed at Myrtle Beach. Baba was at Meherana for the day, like that. And, of course, like that. Very special places. And, of course, it's a very special thing. Elizabeth used to say when people who were visiting and didn't know much about Baba, the center, and she'd show them around and, Mrs. Patterson, this is such a beautiful, beautiful place of nature and so forth. And she would say, yes, it is, but Meher Baba gave it that plus quality. She was the master of understatement, the plus quality. Anyway, but that's the thing. Yes, it's special, but the other thing about it is what Mani's writing is really probably pointing to the truth of the matter. And the truth of the matter is Baba has been at these places before. Why would the divine plan be that this is the place? Yeah, well, because he was here. And that's how I feel. I don't see how there's any other way around it. Why do we all feel him so much here? Well, yeah, you bring him here and all that, true, but, no, I think it doesn't matter. I don't know. I'm just sharing what I feel, and I feel like that's how Mani would say if she were here, Baba must have been here. Baba must have been here. Because you feel Baba in every nook and corner, don't you? Yes. I do. Yeah, I felt that last time I was here. I said, well, how is this possible? It's true. It's true. And so here we are, and do we have time? See, I always do this. I go down rabbit holes, and then the time is gone, and what am I doing? I haven't said, but the dogs. I'm so happy that they're the dogs, and that you're trying that out, and because I want to bring mine, so I met Zorro, and I met Toby, and I met Sita. The three, like astronaut dogs, right? The experiment dogs that go around the earth, and you hope they come back okay, But so you have the three dogs, and I thought, well, you know what? They need a story. They need something too. Why is it should be just for you people? How Baba loved his dogs. Oh my! And Elizabeth, we always used to tease and say, to be a dog in Delruba. What a life. Because it was hard for the rest of us. So a little vignette is what I'm gonna give for them. I'm sorry if I'm taking your time for them, but we just finished our book on Nadine Tolstoy, and it's being designed and it's coming out soon. So we're very happy. But in we publishing a lot of her papers and letters from Bob and all that, because we have her papers. So that's a good thing. But at the end of the book, I thought of this one little moment I wanted to add because it's so emblematic of her and her relationship with Baba, at least it seems to me. And that is that she went to Baba one day. This is in the ashram. I think it was after they already moved to Meherabad Hill was open. And, Nadine didn't have a lot of friends in the group, let's say. I mean, she wasn't apparently the kind of person that people sort of, got along with and made easy friends with, like that. She was not, I can't say exactly why, but it was not easy for people somehow with Nadine. Baba even commented on it at one time. He said, when he was telling them, the women, Western women, one day on the hill, he said, don't lean on anyone but me. And then Baba picked up the hypothetical. So here's Norina, leans on Heidi, and all that. And maybe that was true. I don't know. But he picked that out of the air, and he said, "But what happens if Heidi leaves me? Where's Norina going to be?" Like that. So be friends. Yes, good, be friends. I want you to be friends, but don't lean on anyone but me. And then he turned to Nadine, who's sitting there. He said, but Nadine, she doesn't get along with anyone. So she leans only on me. Baba says, it's a wonderful thing. He was so pleased. Anyway, I don't know. Kind of a left-handed compliment, but never mind. Baba. So on this particular day, she goes to Baba and she says, Baba, nobody loves me. In the ashram, they all hate me, Baba. They don't love me. They hate me. She on and on, she's crying and everything. Baba listened to her, and I said, yeah. And Baba said, he was using the board, of course. He said, is that so? They hate you? Yes, Baba, they do. They do. They hate me. They all hate. All of them. They all hate. They all hate you. Yeah. Nobody loves you. No, nobody. Nobody loves me, Baba. And Baba waited a moment. He said, do I love you? And she, of course, she had to admit, yeah, yes, Baba, I know you love me, but they all hate me. Do I love you? Yes, Baba, you love me. And then, does Kippy love you? Kippy, the little Boston Terrier that was the apple of Baba's eye in the ashram, the favorite little dog, Elizabeth's dog, Kippy. And of course, Kippy loved everybody, okay? Including Nadine. And so Baba said, does Kippy love you? And Nadine, she had to say, yes, Baba, yes, Kippy loves me. Baba said, what else do you need? What else do you need? And I thought, oh, that's so perfect, isn't it? Oh, that's so beautiful and so true. Yeah, so true. What else do we need? Yeah, so that's for our dog friends, who I'm so happy are here also. All right. Well, as Bing has already said, I'm going to repeat because it's so beautiful a thing, that here we are. We're here on Saturday morning, May 24th. This is 2025, in case any of you have forgotten what day it is. Alan's going, what? So that's Saturday morning, May 25th. And of course, it was Saturday morning, May 24th, 1952 when the accident occurred. Yeah. Yeah. So means in Oklahoma it was 10:15 in the morning, right? So here we are, Saturday morning, May 24th.
I was there.
You were there.
I was 100 miles away and I was 5 years old.
Ah, okay. Close enough. That's probably why you're here now. Yeah. So Saturday morning, May 24th, 1952, and here we are, Saturday morning, May 24th, 2025, and that's, of course, when this accident is being described occurred, and Baba was thrown out of the car, and, you know, as he had said, Elizabeth said that he told her, and I think he must have said to others, you know, that before he dropped his body, he would have to shed blood in the East and in the West. So this was the West, and crushed, affected the whole one side of his body, and then the one in 56 the other side, when he shed blood in the East. And of course, as you know, Elizabeth was driving. Now, I say Elizabeth, but just in case, and for posterity, I mean Elizabeth Patterson, and Elizabeth Patterson, who loved to drive, and she loved to drive Baba. I mean, she drove Baba in India. She drove the blue bus for a time. She, drove Baba in a car separately. She did all these things. Baba knew how much she loved to drive, and so and she drove an ambulance in World War I also. Yeah, in New York to pick up the wounded and take them to hospitals. She was the ambulance. I have the little medal that she had, from that time. Every time I take it out and look at it, I think I think of how wonderful it was, how much she loved cars, she loved to drive, and she served through driving. And Baba, so here she was driving. And now, didn't say, for those who may not know, she founded Myrtle Beach, Meher Spiritual Center in Myrtle Beach, with her friend Norina Machabelli, another close disciple. She was now arguably the key Western disciple for Meher Baba. I mean, I don't know. It's not for me to say who was what, but Baba treated her that way, so why not say that? And she and Norina were the only people during the New Life that could communicate with Baba from the West. And of course, he kept the deed to Meher Center that she gave him in his name, even during the New Life when he gave up everything else. So Elizabeth was always the exception with Baba because she was always doing for Baba what almost no one else could do, and she did it so spontaneously that Mani took me aside one day at Meherazad in the 70s, and she said, we had a nickname for your Auntie Boo, which is what I called Elizabeth. We had a nickname for her. I said, what was that? She said, the girls means, we called her, behind her back, we called her, Yes, dear. I said, well, why'd you call her Yes, dear, Bonnie? And she said, well, you see, every time Baba would ask her to do something, whatever it was, she wouldn't be, there would not be a split second, and she would say, yes, Baba dear. So that was the whole name. Yes, Baba dear. That was their nickname. I got left out that. Yes, Baba dear. So this was Elizabeth, and at one point, and Baba, of course, trusted her with his home in the West completely. And at one point, he turned to someone, and she wasn't around on one of his visits to the center. He turned to someone, and he just spontaneously said, Elizabeth is God's gift to me. Well, she was God's gift to me as well. Speaking of the accident, she didn't talk about it. Didn't talk about, we were talking ahead, I was talking to Huey about this. Elizabeth didn't talk about personal things, first of all, and she didn't talk about the past, hers or anybody else's, and she didn't think about the future. Never. It just didn't happen. And if someone did ask her, which naturally they're going to ask her, they come in, they want to know. I mean, Kitty would tell them anything, but they would say, well, you know, what was it like, Elizabeth or Mrs. Patterson, whatever they called her, to drive the blue bus? We've heard you did that and all that. And she would say, well, yes. I think I've written about that somewhere, haven't I? And of course she has, right? And she wasn't going to tell that story, you know. They could go look it up. No, I mean, it's how she was. She had a thing, never wanted to talk about herself. It didn't happen. It just did not happen. And I was around her for 23 years. I don't think I ever heard her talk about herself. Well, there's one exception, but generally. So she, when the accident occurred, of course, Baba was thrown into the ditch, and then Mara was severely injured, as was said, and she almost died. In fact, they thought she was going to die. The doctors were amazed that she didn't because of the severity of her head injury was such. And Mani was unscathed, which was always very difficult for her. Yeah, which I think she talked about herself. Very difficult. And Elizabeth had at the wheel. She, you know, all her ribs were broken. Her hands. She lost use of her hands for quite some time after it. She had injuries also, and but so she was knocked unconscious, you know, at first. And they say that when she came to, and opened her eyes, the first thing her words were, "How's Baba? How's Baba?" Was her first words, which says all you need to know about her. You know, every thought was for him. Everything. So now, of course, the one story, and she told the story to Huey, which I thought was so amazing because she just didn't tell the story of the flower in the Bible. You know, now it's famous, and she did tell it later when she was interviewed, and Alan Cohen asked her to. So in that setting, it was like the one thing she would sort of say. And even that, though, she didn't make personal. I mean, it's odd that it was a personal story, but it wasn't. She didn't tell you her feelings. She didn't, you know. It was more, see what happened. Isn't this amazing what Baba did? So she wanted to say it because it reflects on Baba, and it says so much about Baba. And but that's it. That's all she would talk about. Everyone knows the story, yes? Yeah, everybody doesn't know. So, oh, you don't? Okay. Well, then I'll say it briefly because the people that are in that camera don't know either.
I don't remember. I'm sure I don't remember.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. So,
Everyone else does.
yeah, no. Well, here's the thing. With Erich, you know, Erich would tell these stories and I'd go different times. And of course, I'd heard, and so he would say, he'd look at me and he'd say, yeah, have I told you that? And I'd always say, no, Erich, you've never done that. I mean, who doesn't want to hear the story? You know, when somebody said, oh, yeah, Erich, I've heard, it's like, oh, somebody just threw a big bucket of water here. You know? Because every time he told it, it was different. It was new, wasn't it? Yeah. Anyway, so I show the story is, and I'm not going to go into great detail. My mother told the story so beautifully when she showed people Baba's house. My mother Jane would show. Did anyone of you go around the house with her? Wasn't she great at that? That was her thing she loved to do the most. And she loved to tell the story about the Bible, and the Bible was on display and all this. And it's a simple story, actually. After the accident on May 24th, Elizabeth, of course, was recuperating for quite a while. She had lost use, as I mentioned, of her hands, and she couldn't drive, you see, until she got them back. So she had to exercise her hands, and she had a little red ball, and she'd do this. And so she was determined to get back behind the wheel. And like that, so, recuperating. And she thought, well, she wanted to do things with her hands now, you know. And so I'll go into my trunks that haven't opened since India, you know, because they came back in 1941, all these trunks. And so she said, I'll just see what's there. You know? And so she opened one, and she was going through these things, you know, Life with Baba and all this, you know. Oh, man, the things that, the amazing things. But she came upon her family Bible there in the trunk. And she said, oh, yes, I had forgotten that this is here. I had forgotten it, you know, because she took it to India. You know, she treasured it. It was important to her. And so she took it, and she opened it up. And then she remembered that on May 24th, and she used to tell me, she used to tell people, to the time of day, Baba and she were walking in Harmon in the garden, and the rest of the group, they were all picking flowers, and the rest of the group got ahead. And she, because she was a little slower, even in those days, she was a bigger person, and she, you know, so she was behind, and Baba came up and was next to her. They were all up there somewhere, so they were alone, essentially. And Baba, you know, in those days, you can picture how Baba, you know, so beautiful, and you know, he's so vital and so quick. And she said, you know, Baba, he swooped down, you know, so graceful. He swooped down and he plucked a flower. And he had me put out my hand, and he put the flower in my hand, and he said, and then on the board, Baba said, now, remember this date. Remember this date. And remember that I gave you this. And one day you will know the meaning. So, now Elizabeth, being Elizabeth, is very practical. And her mind immediately went to, where can I put this where it will be very safe and preserved, you know? And she thought, well, my family Bible, my little Bible, that's where I'll put it. I'll always have that. And I can always keep it. And so she took it and she put it in there, and next to the flower, now she was always very good at dates. She said to me when I was growing up, dates are very important with Baba. And so Baba said to remember the date, so she wrote it down, May 24th, 1932. And when she opened the Bible up all those years later, after the accident, she looked, and she realized what he meant. Because, of course, the accident happened on May 24th, 1952, exactly 20 years later, to the moment. She said, to the moment. And then, now, did that make Elizabeth think it was all his will? No, because she already knew that. Her conviction about that was the greatest I've ever seen. I think being with Baba in India, one of the things that came out of that for her was it's all God's will, everything. She didn't ever, I never heard her doubt for a moment oh, why this, why that, or what's going to happen? Well, what's going to happen is already written. Why is it, or why did that? Well, and she never talked that way. It was all God's will, period. Every day was God's will. So that was not, in fact, she had a little, she had certain phrases she'd use again and again, and one of them was, well, that was meant to be. She'd always say that. That was meant to be. And growing up, I always thought, was it meant to be? Meant to be. I never quite knew what she meant. It was meant to be. Now I realize it was that conviction that indeed it was all, it is, whatever happens to us, it is meant to be. And so, in the seven realities, there's the one that says pure surrender, written, I'm sure, for Elizabeth. I mean, with her in mind, who else? Baba says, the only real surrender is that in which poise is undisturbed by any adverse circumstance, and the individual, amidst every kind of hardship, is resigned with perfect calm to the will of God. And I don't know, by the time I knew Elizabeth, that described her perfectly. I've never known anyone with more poise. Baba once said, spirituality is poise. And I knew when I read that what he meant because I had known her. It's like Baba said she was his rock. But she was like this placid lake, She's read the Stoics when she was a young girl. She was very stoic, if you will. But Baba really gave her that sense of surrender. Yeah, so... yeah, now, of course, that kind of surrender is not something she did. And, I've come to realize over the years, we can't surrender. Oh, yeah, we say, I'm going to try to surrender. No. We can say it. But what he says is, you cannot do it. It is impossible for you to do it. But wait, Baba, you say, I want you to surrender to me, surrender to my will. Yeah, and then you turn around and say, but you can't do it. Baba says, yeah, that's right. You can't do it. It's all my grace. But you're trying to do it. Yeah, earn my grace then. It's fine. Do it, but don't think that's going to do it. It's my gift only. It's only my gift. Now, that brings me to the question that I've had in my life. So I'll share that because some of you may have the same kind of question. And that is, well, if that's so, how is it that he wants us to prepare to receive the grace? What's his wish for us as lovers, you see? To do, we got to do something, except for Alan, he does nothing, but I mean, how blessed he is. That's right. Gustaji did nothing also. Yeah, he perfected the art of doing nothing.
Alan watches a lot of sports.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's nothing. That's easy. That's nothing. I can just saying. Boring, but nothing. No, just kidding. Oh, they're turning on me now, Alan. They were all for me until that happened. All the guys are going, what?
You start talking trash about Steph Curry.
No, I won't go there. I don't know who you're talking about, but I'm not going there. Does he play a game, this Curry person? Oh, good God. All right. Don't. You can tell me what shape the ball is later. That's fine. So I think myself, my humble opinion, which is worth nothing because I live in ignorance. So, take it for what it's worth, which is nothing. But no, I feel it's my feeling is that Baba did give the answer to this. that I was thinking about. How should I? He did give it in so many words, you know, and you know, the wonderful symmetry for me in thinking about this was that it was on Saturday morning, May 24th, 1958. So another Saturday morning, another May 24th, and about this time, actually, Baba gave my wish for the first time in the West. He had just given it in India at the Sahavas there for the first time there, and then when he came here, he gave it out in the barn at Meher Spiritual Center on the morning of May 24th, 1958. There we are. So this is a double anniversary. All I'm saying is a double anniversary. Both at the same time we're meeting here too. Very strange. So, my wish. Now, Baba, let me give you this because I brought them all the way. I'm not taking them back. This one's already wrapped. Somebody has to unwrap because my fingers don't work. But if everyone could take one of these, you have a glimpse into what it looked like that morning. This is the only photo we have. There are almost zero, there are very few photos of Meher Baba in the barn, especially 1958. There's just almost nothing. I can't open it. Thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah. So I think there are more than enough to go around. So, yeah, you'll see in the photo exactly how it looked that morning. I'm not sure who took it. It could be Darwin. Baba didn't have us taking photos or films or anything during the barn. But anyway, somehow somebody did it, and I'm glad to say. And yeah, if you just like the teachers do, they put them in rows, and people pass down the rows like that, bunches of them. Otherwise, it'll take all day. You know. Do we have a kindergarten teacher here or a first grader? I should have asked them to organize this process of giving out the cards. It's hard when you're not a teacher. You know how to do these things. All right. Does everybody get one? Working on it.
What card are you talking about?
What card? What card? Yeah. What card? There's plenty of them. Somebody has to take them around to everybody else. I think there's plenty of them. Let's hope. And you know, for you people listening in the future, which doesn't exist, by the way, that's what he says. I have no idea. But for you listening in, what they're going to do is they're going to, at this point in the video, they're going to put this picture in. So you will see it quicker than the people in the back of this room will ever see it. Yeah. All right. We got most people with one. You didn't get one. Susan? Yeah. There's more. Susan wants to know if I'm in it. Oh, Susan, what a great question. Yes, I am. You see me. You see the little boy with the blonde hair standing in the right as you're looking at the picture, standing. Nobody else is standing, with my white shirt on, dressed up for Baba. Right, my white shirt. Yeah, that was me. Yeah, I used to be handsome. That's right.
Charles, how old were you?
I was 8 years old. If you'd asked me then, I would have said, I'm 8, but I'm going to be 9 soon. No, I had 2 months to go before I was going to turn 9. And all right, so here is now that everybody's going to be picking out who's who, and but we'll talk about. No, they're all gone. So I'm the last one left in that picture. Really, I think I am. Which little guy?
Is that a little, isn't he?
No, I don't think so, no. I don't think Larry was there that day, but if he was, I'll have to kill him because I'd like to be the only one living that was there. Come on, Larry. Go already. No, Wendy wasn't there. Baba didn't allow children in the barn, so that's another thing. I'll tell you in a minute how I got in there, but it's a ruse. But first I want to say what happens is that Baba is carried in. This is 58, remember, so a lot of the time he could walk some, but he was carried up the steps into the barn. Everybody can picture, I guess, knowing the barn, and taken to his seat. And he sits down in his seat. We all sit, and it was actually 10 o'clock in the morning, exactly. And Baba turns to Erich. Baba was due at 9. It was supposed to be 9 to noon, right? That was the program. He walks in. He's carried in at 10. And we've been waiting. Baba looks up at Erich and he says, "What time is it?" And Erich says, "It's 10 o'clock, Baba." I said, No, it's 9 o'clock Baba's time. So Baba says, "See, I'm on time." Well, if he's the God man, he can do whatever he wants with time, right? Because if time doesn't exist, why not? It doesn't. So anyway, 9 o'clock Baba's time, but 10 o'clock, and then he sat, and we all sat, and then the first thing he did was he looked at everybody and he said, "Join me in the prayer of repentance with all sincerity, and God, in his infinite compassion, will forgive all your weaknesses, shortcomings, and failures up to date. Let the prayer sink deep into you and concentrate on me." And then Baba gets out of his chair and we all stand and we say the prayer of repentance with him. Wow. With him. Imagine. And so let's do that. We must do that. We repent, O God, most merciful, for all our sins, for every thought that was false or unjust or unclean, for every word spoken that ought not to have been spoken, for every deed done that ought not to have been done. We repent for every deed and word and thought inspired by selfishness, and for every deed and word and thought inspired by hatred. Repent most especially for every lustful thought, every lustful action, for every lie, for all hypocrisy, for every promise given but not fulfilled, and for all slander and backbiting. Especially also, we repent for every action that has brought ruin to others, for every word and deed that has given others pain, and for every wish that pain should befall others. In your unbounded mercy, we ask you to forgive us, O God, for all these sins committed by us, and to forgive us for our constant failures to think and speak and act according to your will. Jai Baba. Yeah. Oh, you know, it always says it's all now. It's all now. Everything is in the eternal now for him. So that it was said then, but it was said now. When it was said then, it was said now. That's how I feel. That's what he means. You know, and by the by, apropos of nothing except how my mind works, and that is that Erich was always trying to hammer into me how everything was God's will. And I, to be ornery, or to be, you know, he liked to go back and forth like that. You know. So on walks, what to do, but to have something to spar about. Well, Erich, can everything be, you know, isn't there some room for our freedom? No, there's nothing. No, there's no free will. I said, Erich, you know, wouldn't he want us to have some? No. There's nothing like that. And then he'd tell some story to illustrate. So he did this 2 trips to India. This was our theme of back and forth. Yeah, he wanted me to, of course, I did accept it in my mind, but he didn't want me just to accept it in my mind. He wanted me to begin living that, which I wasn't prepared to do at that time. Anyway, I thought I got him one day. I caught him out, and I said, Erich, you see, in the prayer of repentance, at the end, it says, you know, whatever it says, according to my will. Now, Erich, if it is all his will, how can it say that? Right? What is it? How does it go? Is it, constant failure to think, speak, and act according to your will. I said, well, how can that be? How can we repent for something that we have no control? Yeah, if it's his will, then what? Why is he saying we should ask forgiveness? And Erich says, yeah. Brother, you're so right. You're so right. It should be wish. I said, wish? Yeah. See, we did not have wish then. Means Baba hadn't really given much out about wish. So, yeah, we did not have it then. But I tell you, it should be wish. Yeah, that's what it is. It's wish, not will. I said, well, why don't they print it up differently? Yeah. Yeah, what difference does it make, brother? Yeah. Why do you people always want to know these things? Why do you always, yeah, it should be this, it should be that. Yeah. What, it makes no difference. What? I said, yeah, you know, but it makes a difference to me. I'm asking you. That's like, and then later I read more about it, and you know, it turns out that the original version that was sent to the printer was Wish. Wow. There was the original thing that was sent to the printer, and the printer mucked up, made a mistake, and turned it into will. Yeah, that's what it says. I think Lord Mayor, you know, which is, you know, the fount of all truth. I don't know, but that's, listen, if David Fenster gets it wrong, that'll be the day, right? The apocalypse will arrive. I mean, talk about accurate. Oh, he writes to me, you know. David, when you see this, I expect a few emails about what I got wrong. And I'm happy because it's good to get it right, but he knows. So anyway, but in there it says, yes, originally it was, which made me feel a little better because, you know, I think things should be consistent, don't you? I mean, it really doesn't matter one way or the other. Now you say, well, you know, so okay, Terry and Diane have been sitting there. Where are they? Where are they? Yeah, you've been sitting this whole time. You've been saying, now how the heck did he get in there, in the barn, right? And the kids weren't allowed. That's right, because I know you well enough to know you're going to ask that question, And as soon as I leave here and I haven't answered, you're gonna pigeonhole me and say, well, wait a minute. You say you were in there? I don't know if you, how? Okay, so for your sake, I'm so glad you're asking the question because, and I always follow your wish. No, so what happened was this. At that point, this was, it seems like it was eons, but I met Baba May 21st. The next day, May 22nd, I was pleading with Mother to take me with her when she was going to the center that morning to go and be with Baba in the barn. Why was I pleading? Because I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand it. I had to see him again. It was painful, you know. I mean, you think, well, okay, you just saw Baba, you met him. Oh no, I was so overwhelmed with him, his love, and just I didn't know anything about him. I didn't know much, you know, but I just wanted to be with him. And honestly, he was the only person I'd ever met. Now I think about it, who I felt knew me instantly. I mean, I didn't know who he was, but I just felt different than other people because I didn't feel like I was seen by people. As a child, I was a very self-conscious child and isolated and alienated from the world and so forth and so on. But and self-conscious to the, you know, and I just didn't feel seen, and or I didn't feel I belonged, and I didn't feel even, you know, my parents really saw who I was, and you know, I had to play a certain part around my mother, and for the rest of my life, almost. I mean, I finally got over it, but I mean, play a part, and but when I met Baba, you know, it was I just knew he knew me, you know. I mean, now I didn't say that in my head, you know. To a child, what do you say? A child knows. A child doesn't have to have language for it. I just knew that he knew me, you know, and I loved him. He loved me, and so now they're saying, I was told, no, you can't go because, you know, Baba says, you know, the children can't be in the barn. There's a playground. You know, some person hired to take care of the children while people in the barn, or if you live in Myrtle Beach, which we did, you go to school. So that was it, you see, go to school. Well, and Mother explained to me, you know, I'm sorry, but you know, there'll be another time, you know. So there's going to be a children's party on Saturday, and I think, well, that's like eons away, right? This is now I just met him, and now I'm supposed to not see him again until, you know, and you're going to go and see him, and I just didn't accept it. So she was rushing. Now that is another story, but the part of it I'll just say is that she had a deep experience of Baba that night. You know, the night of May 21st, morning of May 22nd. Mother, who had not yet had a deep experience of him, a deep recognition when meeting him. You know, people meet Baba in the physical form doesn't mean that he's going to show them who he is, right? Or a glimpse, really. It's a glimpse. She didn't even have the glimpse. She liked him. She felt drawn to him. She wanted so much to feel what other people were feeling. You know, she did. But she didn't. And that was the 19th of May. Now this is the night of the 21st. And in the middle of the night, she has this experience, which I don't need to describe. I know because I woke up knowing this was going on, even though my room was way on the other side. In fact, my room wasn't even in the house. It was off the porch. It was a separate building. But I knew. In all my life with her, this is how it is. And I got out of my bed because I knew something was wrong, and I rushed to her bedroom, and there she was weeping and weeping and weeping. Anyway, next morning she gets up, and she has now had this inner experience. She knows. She knows, and she's got to get there, right? Because now She knows who he is, and she's desperate to hurry up, eat breakfast. And she wanted us to get on our way, you know, and the bus was going to be coming soon, a couple blocks away on the Ocean Boulevard, and we were supposed to go down there. We do every day, take the bus, threw something in a lunch pail or whatever we took, and go. And so what to do? The car was parked out front of the house. It was Happy House. It was there then, down in Myrtle Beach. And later moved, but there it was. And the little car that Elizabeth had us using was a 56 something another, gray-looking car, a strange thing. And then, so it was sitting right there, and then she kept, you know, go. So the three of us started walking down towards the bus stop. You know, we knew it was going to come soon, and Wendy and John went ahead, and so I kept lingering. I kept pleading. I said, just take me. It's all right. Just take me. I won't even have to go in. Just take me there. And she said, I can't do it. I cannot do it. And, you know, so like that. And Mother loved me very much. She was, you know, but she wasn't going to disobey. And so she got in the car and tried to start it up, and it wouldn't start. Now, I think in all of her anxiety and rush, what she did probably in those days, you know, she flooded the darn thing, right? You know how you used to have to, I don't know. And so she flooded, and she couldn't get it to go. And meanwhile, they've arrived at the bus stop. I'm still lingering, looking back, and the bus comes. They get on the bus, and they're gone, and I see the car is still there. So I run back. Now, I got to the window, and just as I get to the window of the front seat and look in, she gets it started. And now her choice. Right? Take him so I can get there now, or drive him to school, you know, and all this. She said, all right, get in. And so because of that, I got to go. And, you know, she was so focused on being there, getting her experience, she didn't even pay attention to any about, you know, I shouldn't be there or whatever. She didn't say anything. She just went, and I just followed along, and I went inside the barn with her. And I was thinking, I'm going to be thrown out here, you know. I mean, I was, again, a very, very self-conscious child. I mean, my legs would go rubbery at the slightest glance from somebody, you know. But I was determined. So I went in, and I sat, you know, inconspicuously, hoping nobody would notice. And that was May 22nd. Now, 2 days later, the children's party is going to be that day, May 24th in the afternoon, and we had, the night before, at the dining room table, we had made this garland for Baba. Never made a garland before, with pink carnations, and, you know, the three of us were making the garland, and for the party. And I was going to wear my white shirt, and I think it had cufflinks, because, you know, for me, I don't think any other child thought this. You're supposed to dress up for Baba, you know. I even thought this when I went in '62. I dressed up. I wore a jacket, a wool jacket of all things, and a tie, and, you know, nobody else wore it. But I didn't notice that until the pictures came out. I was like, why am I doing that? Anyway, so I was dressing up, putting on my shirt, and but the thing is, Mother was going to go to the barn. She was going to take Wendy and I to go to the playground, and then my brother went off somewhere. I don't know what he did. And then when the children's party came, we could see Baba. That was the plan. So we arrive at the center, and I don't know. Wendy goes to the playground. And I said, well, why not? And I follow her right into the barn again.
Yay!
And she, you know, Mother, to her credit, didn't say anything. Said, well, all right. He got away with it once, you know, maybe. And that's why you see me standing in the picture, you see, because now I don't care. I mean, I'm bold now. And why did I stand? Because I could see him better, you see. I mean, I was little, and if I sat down there, I wouldn't see him. So I'm standing and I'm looking, and I'm looking intensely because I couldn't believe it, you know, that I got to see him there with all these people and all that. The prayer, I had never heard such a thing, the prayer. And then there is this, Baba is praying. I didn't know what that meant, but oh my. And I was just overwhelmed with joy, you know, to see him there doing these things. And I didn't, I didn't want anything. I just wanted to just stare at him, you know. And so I was there then for the session. Now, of course, Baba had all these various discourses read out, right? Discourses. There had been some been prepared ahead, you know, and he'd given already in India. So like that. So Don Stevens or somebody would read it. And of course, I hadn't, you know, I mean, as at my age, you know, they just sort of, I don't know, the split ego or something. I mean, I didn't, deep sleep, you know, God state. I mean, I didn't know what they were talking about, and I didn't care. Why? Because I could just stare at Baba. I didn't have to think about anything, and I was so happy just to be there until towards the end of the session, Baba said, now, he said, now, what I want is this. Listen carefully. It is very important for my lovers. It was not a public statement, you see, or a message to the world, or a discourse. This was what Baba said, the beloved wishes. And he said, and the lover must carry out the wish of the beloved. And now my attention was caught. Baba said, must carry out and I said, I love Baba. I love Baba. So he means me. You know, I mean, I had no idea, but I didn't really fully grasp. But I thought he means me, and so I listened. And what happened is that Baba had it read out, and then he paused and said, "Now let's have a joke." Right? That's how he would be. But break up a discourse where it's time for a joke or two jokes or whatever. Baba was, you know, this gives me a headache. Let's have a joke. Well, he would do that all the time. You know, it was never anything around Baba that I experienced, which I was very limited experience. But my limited experience, it wasn't without humor. Never. It was always something going to be about humor, and so. Or his humor would come through, or he would ask somebody to tell a joke and all that. And then he had it read out again. I mean, and later looking back on it, I thought, I've never seen that before, really, in anything that I have seen of other gatherings with Baba, that he had something read out twice. And then he had it read out a third time. Now, by this time, I think we were all riveted to this. This is something Baba wants us to take to heart. And The first two, of course, you all know these by heart. I mean, this is a message that, as his lovers, we know this. Yeah. But for me, yes, I've known it all these years, but did I know it? Did I live it as he said? Did I realize did I remember how serious he was? That this isn't just a nice thing to do. This is what you must do if you're my lover. I don't think until recently I got the full impact of that. Anyway, the first two, do not shirk your responsibilities. And I always thought, oh, okay, fine. I mean, I didn't think much of that. It makes sense. And the second one, tend faithfully to your worldly duties, but keep always in the back of your mind that all this is Baba's. And again, for most of my life, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I didn't, but you know how most of you know this better than I do. That is very challenging. Really? Always in the back of your mind that all of this is Baba's? And you were just mean to that lady in the Safeway? I'm sorry. No, really. I mean, if you always, everything's Baba's, you'd think, maybe she has someone at home that's ill, and that's why she's, this and, you know what I mean. We would, if all this is Baba's, then how differently we would see things, I think. So, and I thought, oh, well, who are the people? Who are the people in my life who did really live this way all the time? And Elizabeth, certainly. I mean, Kitty, Pindu, Erich, Mani, so that there are others, but these are the people I knew best, and there's no question in my mind that they didn't think about this. They carried out their duties, and without thinking, with the awareness, this is all his. All of them. By the time I knew them. I don't know what they were like when they first got to the ashram or before they met Baba. I mean, you know what Elizabeth used to say? She would say, well, if you think we're bad now, you should have seen us before Baba. Good point. So I didn't know her back then. I didn't know her when they were starting out in the ashram and Baba was beginning to train them. But whatever it was, when I knew them, long gone, this was how they breathed. This is how they lived. Pinto used to say over and over again when I'd sit with him, he would tell me, yeah. I'd try to get him to talk about building the tomb shrine or these stories. Well, yeah, and he would, but he'd say, yeah, brother, I am telling you, the one thing, don't forget this. Working for him, yeah, don't do it. Yeah, I'm saying, yeah, my brother, I'm telling you, don't do it. Don't do it unless you're going to be wholehearted. Then you can do it. But if you're not, don't do it. Don't do it. Baba, yeah, that's the only way to please him. You have to be wholehearted. So this is a very powerful thing, what he's saying. To do everything, but never forget that we do nothing. I mean, I can try, but for these people, it was not trying. Yeah. But that's where that's where Baba takes us. I remember one day there was a lot of chaos in Del Ruba. I don't know what was the cause of it. Some, rumpus and something happening at the center and somebody doing something, it was always something. And we were, the living room was kind of chaotic with Kitty, oh yeah, running here. And then my mother, she was kind of the nervous type and so Elizabeth is sitting there And at one point, and I'm sitting with her, and at one point she says, well, in the midst of the chaos, she says, well, all I can say is, it's a good thing Baba runs his center, or we'd all be in trouble. I never forgot that, because that's how she saw it. It's like, okay, chaos, that's all right, because he is running it. Yeah, we do what we can, but everything that happens is the will of God. It's His will. It doesn't matter. It's good, it's bad, it's suffering, it's happiness, it's all that. Because you see, that's the next part. When you feel happy, think Baba wants me to be happy. When you suffer, think Baba wants me to suffer. Be resigned into every situation, think honestly and sincerely, Baba has placed me in this situation. And man, that is a stumbling block for people, often. I won't say why or how, but often when people talk about this, what, Baba wants me to suffer? Well, yeah, but that's not quite it, no. Baba wants me to be happy, Baba wants me, so I'm supposed to think that Baba wants me to suffer, and but what we come to realize, I think, in time with him, is that suffering or happiness just is. It's in the will. It's in the perfect plan. Why? And you say, well, why can't Baba change the plan? Why do I have to suffer? Because Baba says, why would I change a perfect plan? Grace is there. Even Erich would acknowledge reluctantly, yes, there is grace and all that. Yeah, yeah. He doesn't exercise it much, but yeah, it's true. It's true. So I was trying to get him to say everything isn't fixed. And then I would feel good. And then he'd say, yeah, but you know what he says? I say, what? But even that act of grace is in the whim. It's accounted for. So even that is in the whim. It's not like that's something. So I gave up after that. I said, I don't have anything left with you, Erich. Baba, suffering and happiness is, whatever it is, Baba wants means it's the will of God. Baba wants me, so it's the will of God. It is unchangeable. I can't do anything about it. So why am I fretting about it? Of course he wants, because it's his will, and I want it too. That's the thing, people, we need to remember when we think about these things. When we say, oh, it's all God's will, well, why does he do this? Why does he do that? He doesn't do anything. It's, first of all, God's will is our will. There's only one will. We don't have a will. We don't exist. If we don't exist, how can we have a will? So yeah, when we say it's God's will, we're saying, yeah, ultimately, if truth be told, if I were awake, if I knew what's going on, I would realize that's what I want. Right? So it's not that God said, you do this, and then I'm going to fix that Alan Talbert tomorrow. It's like that. Somebody asked me once, he said, well, Baba, why did Lincoln and Gandhi, why did they have to be assassinated? Why did God will that? I said, God didn't will that. That was karma, sanskaras, the destiny, they had to do it. You see, Baba says, God doesn't will things like that. Will is what it is. Now, karma and sanskaras are within the will, but they are really the law by which the will is experienced, where we run. So, yes, somebody asked me once, well, wait a minute, you say, it's all his will, but then why Baba says 99% of our suffering is self-inflicted? And I thought, oh, well, it's a good question, but yeah, it's self-inflicted because we, in our past, in our karma, and our sanskaras, we accumulate, we have to go through it. It's self-inflicted only in the sense that It's because of the actions of the past. But all of it, what we did past, present, future, is all now, and it's all the will of God. God doesn't decide this is going to happen. It is. Now, my mind has a hard time grasping this, but Baba says over and over again, everything emerged in the original whim somehow, and even that, as you said earlier, is just a way of talking, emerged as it is. The will is, and let's see. I was going to actually quote Bob on this because I think he says it better, somewhat better. Everything in the universe, Baba says, is and from the beginning has been a materialization of the original divine whim, working out irrevocably, without default, deflection, or defeat. It is the unfolding of the film of creation on the screen of consciousness, sequence after sequence, according to the pattern that issued from the original whim. The self, Baba says, the self is like a spectator of the film, identifying itself with the hero of the film story. The spectator enjoys and suffers with the hero in each incident depicted on the screen, in complete self-forgetfulness of his own true being. Then, coming to himself at the close of the whole film show, he finds that nothing has really happened to him. All the self took upon itself through deluding identification really happened as a part of the story of creation, of which the self, in fact, was witness. But the show, Baba says, I love this line, but the show has not been seen in vain. The show has not been seen in vain. It has played its part in the eternal life of the immutable self, which now knows and enjoys its own fullness and infinite divinity as it never did before. So what a great show it is. What a great thing. The illusion that sustains reality means it's the only way in which God can experience and enjoy and imagine who he is and come to realize it. So it's a great thing. It's a wonderful thing. But does it involve suffering? Yeah. And happiness? Yeah. And I never would say this to people who are suffering, that, it's the whim, it's the will. No, that's not, it's not, Baba doesn't want me to give explanations about it to people. It's not that. But if they ask, what did he say? You have to say. That's all. Growing up with him, I loved him. I want to check because I don't want to, I'm going over. When are we supposed to finish this? 12:30 or 12:15? 12:30? Yes. Yeah. I don't know. But it is, somebody just, this is how I am. I think of something else that Baba wants inside me. So anyway, I wanted to share, though, that for what it's worth, my first test of this came very early on after I met Baba, because I was in this phase of, missing him in India, but also feeling him present. Presence and absence seems to be the theme of life with Baba. He's present and he's absent, and sometimes more present you feel him, the harder it is to be absent. The longing grows. It's like that. If you didn't feel him with you, how would you long for something? It wouldn't be this. So the sweetness of the lover and beloved, of course, is he's with me, but he's absent from me, like that. So I was feeling this, and again, I'm beginning to be told he's this, he's that. He was silent. He did. So I'm beginning to fill in all this information, which didn't change much to me, but I was. But after Baba left the Myrtle Beach, Elizabeth got me a dog, and because she could see that I was struggling with the absence. And of course, dogs for her were the closest of companions in her life, and she saw how Baba was with his dogs, and what they did in his work and his life. They were very important. So she got me a collie dog. It looked just like Lassie, if any of you are old enough to remember Lassie. She looked just like Lassie, except she was a little smaller because she was the runt of the litter. They told me she was the runt of the litter. And I, of course, I loved her so much, and she loved me. We were inseparable. And I mean, she was my best friend. She was my closest companion. We did everything together, including, in the bed at night. She would get in the bed, knowing it was bedtime. She'd get in the bed first, leaving no room. And believe it or not, I some nights would curl up at the end of the bed because I didn't want to disturb her, I couldn't disturb her. That's how it was with her. And if you saw her face, you'd know. What can you do, She, and her love was so great. And you know what? In those years with her, Baba, whenever a message would come, a letter to Kitty Elizabeth, or to anything, any message from India, we didn't get as many because he was in seclusion, but when they came, cable, anything, Baba always sent love to Buff, my collie. Always. It's in every single one. Sent love to Buff. And so she was treated as our family. And by Baba, by Mani, especially Mani, who was also besotted with dogs. And Mani the first letter Mani wrote to me was when we moved to New York, and I was, I guess, 4th grade, and Buff went with us, of course, and Mani wrote, and she wanted to tell me all about the tricks she was teaching Peter, the Cocker Spaniel that Baba loved so much, and Mani was really Mani's kind of special dog. And then she would tell me about how, please pet Buff for me and all this, and so it was like that. Buff was such a big part because she was big because growing closer to Baba without her, I can't imagine. I can't imagine how she nurtured me, and I didn't really, I didn't really have the same relationship with the world that most kids did. My inner world was was what I really had, and she was that. She was my inner world, and then we moved back to Myrtle Beach, and I had to go somewhere for some purpose. I don't remember, maybe to see my father in Durham or something like that, for a few days. In the fall of '65, when we just moved back to Myrtle Beach, to Happy House, where we were living when we met Baba. And Elizabeth picked me up at the airport when I returned, and she said, I got in the car, and she said, Charles, Baba says God alone is real. There's nothing else. I said, yes, Annie Boo. He said, Baba has taken Buff. I said, I couldn't believe it. And, everything is his will. Well, what does that mean? How is this possible? I mean, as a child, when you have your first test of this being his will, it's the hardest. If it had been anything else, it wouldn't have been. God help me, even if it had been a family member. I would have been sad. But no, can't be Buff. That's my life. You can't take Buff. And but there it was, and she took me to these retired vet and his wife who loved her so much and would care for her when we were away. They loved her and loved her, so they were devastated. She'd picked up some virus. In those days, dogs didn't get all these shots and stuff like that we do now. And so anyway, and she was still breathing, but she was not conscious. Anyway, I got to say goodbye. And I cut a piece of her hair off and all that. And I didn't know what to do. I was just devastated. And then, the next day, a cable arrives. Your love for me will help Buff, who is also mine. Be in my love for you resigned and happy. Meher Baba. Resigned and happy. And, I could accept, and I did because I love Baba so much, and I had great faith in anything that he said or did. I could be resigned because it was meant to be. I felt that, but how could this be? How can I be happy? And then Mani sent a card. She later sent a letter to Mani, went all out about this, and she wrote me a beautiful letter, but the card came first. It was a card, kind of a postcard thing with a dog that looked exactly like Buff, like a collie dog, like a lassie dog, same markings, everything. And on the back, how Mani, every detail Mani was like Baba, this is how she was like Baba that way. So on the back, she wrote about, Buff, Baba's Buff, Baba's Buff, who he loves so much, something sweet, beautiful. And when I held that card, I realized, Buff, Baba's Buff, she belongs to him. And his love for Buff is greater than mine could ever be. And Baba must have given me her for this time to draw me closer to him. But now it's time for her to move on and whatever next stage she has with him. That's how it came to me. And I felt happy. I felt happy. Pain was there. Happy. I was happy. Missing her. To this day, I feel pain that she's not here. Yeah. And Toby and Elsa and Jefferson and Madison and Jimmy. I feel pain for each of them, but they are not mine. They are here only as a gift until their work is done. How I feel. The fifth point, of course, so tomorrow I'm going to try, if Baba will help me, to say something about the Baba saying with the understanding that he's in everyone to help and serve others. And that's been maybe when I first heard it and read it, it's self-evident, but I found in my life it's not at all. It's so not as complicated, it's just so profound. And like everything else with Baba that he wishes for his lovers, there are just depths to it and layers, and sometimes we think we know what it means, and then we find out later we're just on the surface of it. And then finally, Baba says, and this is the one that I thought I had Erich on this one too, because all the rest of it is about becoming more and more aware that everything is his will, right? Pretty much, Baba's wish is, my wish for you, become more and more aware in every moment that everything is my will. Surrender to everything being my will. To me, that's like it's a template that Baba has for surrender more and more to everything is my. So you get up to number 5, and that seems to be what he's doing, saying his wish is, and then number 6, something quite different. He says, I say with my divine authority, to each and all that whosoever takes my name at the breathing of their last comes to me. So do not forget to remember me in your last moments. Unless you start remembering me from now on, it will be difficult to remember me when your end approaches. You should start practicing from now on. Even if you take my name only once every day, you will not forget to remember me in your dying moments. Oh, I was like, well, wait a minute. How is this now? And I said to Erich, okay, Erich, what is this? You mean to say that I have to make this effort, right? But he wants me, and if I don't, then, I might not remember in my dying moments. And I said, he said, no, it's not it. I said, what do you mean it's not it? He said, yeah. Someone asked Baba the same thing. I said, why wouldn't you have that question? How is it that you have the freedom to do this? And he's saying you don't have the free will. How is that possible? And so Baba said, Erich said, Baba answered him, and he said, yes, Baba said. It's true. Good, better timing. Yes, Baba said, it is my will. But my wish is for you to try. That will bring you closer to me. In other words, whether you remember me in your end is already decided. But like everything else with Baba, that is not why we do what we do. We don't do it so we get a certain result, because that's what Baba is trying to rid us of. I remember, I do this, well, that's exactly what he's out to take away. So how does he do that? By focusing everything on it's his will. So you lose I in that. You lose I. I mean, after all, if one really absorbs and tries to live every day, it's all his will, then there's nothing to worry about. Really? How can there be anything to worry about? Because there's nothing you do. So Erich said, that's how he said it. That's how he said it. It's my will whether you remember me or not. But my wish is for you to try. And now, after the third reading, and I'll close, I think, with this. The third reading, Baba says, I want you to follow everything that is said here, point by point. And then he got up to leave. He was put in the chair, and he was carried out. And then he was put in the car, and Elizabeth drove him slowly away, and people were sort of running along the road to try to, Baba would put his hand out, so they'd try to go so they could touch his hand, or if they were fortunate, in time, they might kiss his hand and all that. So that's, and then, Now, the last thing I'll share, because I really am over time. The last thing I'll share is this. I know nothing. I'll just say that. I don't know anything. But I paid attention because he gave it. I actually, believe it or not, at that age, I mean, I found somebody made up copies or whatever, and I got one, and I put it on my desk. And then later, I had a chance to write to India, and I wrote to India. It may have been to Mani, and I told Mani to tell Baba that I have my wish on my desk. That's because I love this message so much that Baba gave us, and when he was here, I have it on my desk. So from the beginning, this was a very significant message. But of course, I hadn't. Now I realize, you know what? It doesn't matter that we're not ready. We're only going to be ready at the right moment. It matters if we want to please him, if we want to Baba is pleased by that effort, but even that comes from him. Why would I want to please him? Because he provokes me to want to please him. There is nothing that I do. So it all comes from him, even that. But yeah, he lets us feel that. Oh yeah, I'm going to try to please Baba. I'm going to try. Yeah, it's fine, but underneath it, no. Baba says, you wouldn't feel that unless I provoke it. So in different times in my life, I thought, oh yeah, I'm trying to follow Baba's. I was not. I wasn't ready. I'd look at the words and I'd say, I had no idea. And then I remembered what Baba, one little moment in 1962, in the East-West Gathering. And Michael, I think this was like in the beginning of the week. So I think you all arrived, second day or third day? Second day, yeah. So this is first day. So you can't contradict me because you weren't there. You wouldn't anyway, but I'm just saying. If you're the only one still there, alive, who can say? Yeah. Anyway, first day. And I remember being anxious because this is a very short time, 4 days or whatever it was, darshan. And I felt like I should take real advantage of every moment. I'm 13 now. And I know I may never see him physically again. And he said that. We didn't know, Baba changes, but that's what he said. You take him seriously. I had not seen him in 4 years, right? So I was going to try to absorb everything I could. And so I'm sitting at his feet. I got a seat on the floor next to his knee. That was why I struggled so hard to get there early. I struggled to, get in front of people. I didn't pay attention to who I was shouldering aside. And but if you're a child, you're 13, they're that's sweet, and they let you through. So I got a seat next to Baba's knee. I could, if I just had moved my head a little, I would have been on his knee. It was so wonderful place to be. And so through that morning session with the Westerners, in the afternoon it was Easterners and Westerners. The morning was just Westerners. I don't know how many of this, 170 something, whatever it was. And Baba, interacting and joking, discourse maybe was being read, something, music, different things. And my mind was focused, like I have got to take this in. And I started looking at Baba, staring at Baba, and I thought, and I felt very frustrated because, yes, I'm seeing him, I'm taking it in like this, but I'm not. I mean, I don't have the capacity. I know this is bigger than I can do. And I got, it's a strange thing. Maybe, I don't know. It was at my age, I don't know. But I got all of this anxiety that somehow I was not, I didn't have the capacity and I wasn't taking in. And so I tried harder. I'd stare harder as though that would make a difference. And one lady said afterwards, a footnote to this, she came in, one Bible lover, she came and said, "Do you see something we don't see?" Because there I am, like, staring. And at one point in the middle of that, Baba, he looks down at me and he catches my eye like this, and Baba says, he reaches down with his hand, takes my chin, and he goes, and what I heard, I don't think it was from Erich, I just think something I just heard in that moment. No. You don't be anxious. You can only take in what I give you. No more, no less. So be happy, relax now. And after that I did. I no longer thought, I don't have the capacity or whatever. I paid attention to Baba because that was my joy, but it wasn't anxiety, which made me miss things, right? You begin not to see Baba if you're so anxious that you're afraid you're not seeing Baba as he should be seen. Well, who sees Baba as he should be seen? Nobody. Mera maybe comes the closest, or the must would see something we didn't see and all that. So I say that here at the end, because my wish, I cannot, in my life, I could not live my wish, in spite of my longing to accept everything as his will, I couldn't live it more than he gave me the capacity to do. Because if he had not done that, if he had given me the end of the story, there'd be no story. I would not have grown in it anyway. All the things I went through, you don't want to know. But all things we all go through in life would not have been. Why would they? Why, I wouldn't need to go through all these things. But I did. And then in my senior golden years, it finally is the case that I feel in my heart, not just think it, everything is his will. Yeah. And I just that's more real to me now than anything else. And and about a year and a half ago, something like that, I don't remember when, I found I wasn't worrying about anything. No, it's true. One day I thought, wait a minute, I'm not worried. Why is that? And I haven't worried since, knock wood. But somehow he took it. I didn't work for it. I didn't even know. I didn't know it was possible for him to do it, or I didn't know. Baba's, if he takes something, it's usually something you want to keep. Right? Life with Baba is he takes this, he takes that, he takes that. Wait, no, not that. But no, he takes it. He says, I take. I'm the taker. I'm not that. I'm the one to take, not the one to give you what you want. So how Baba says. But and we laugh at it, but it's true. He gives. As Elizabeth used to say to me when I was growing up, Charles, Baba will take away. He'll take away, but he takes away the rhinestones. but he will give you the diamond. He said, remember that. Yeah, there'll be a lot of loss, but he will give you the diamond. So now, of course, I have long journey ahead. I hope I want to be with him, but he comes again. I don't want to go anywhere. But at least at this point in this time, one of the things he's taken is something I'm happy for him to take. I have a list of things he could take if he wants. My Dooney list or whatever. I don't know, but I mean, he's not going to do that until the time is right. But now I realize, what did I worry? What was that? Because if it's all his will, what was I worried about? So that's how Baba is. So I'll end with something he said about this, which is so beautiful. You know this, I think, quote, is so beautiful. He says, the moment the intensity of your faith in my will reaches its height, you say goodbye to worry forever. Then all you have suffered and enjoyed in the past, together with all that you may experience in the future, will be to you the most loving and spontaneous expression of my will. And nothing will ever cause you worry again. Nothing will ever be able to cause you worry again. Jai Baba. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Baba. Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.